Hey guys, this is Jerry. Jerry Learns Business. Could be on another channel too, but Marc Falzon. Marc Falzon, very, very cool guest because I've had him on my other channel before. Marc is the founder, and you can call him the owner. People go by different labels, but we'll just call him the owner of Zirby. So welcome, Marc.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Hey, Jerry. It's been a couple of years since we spoke. It's really good to
and I love that you got the mic I had when I interviewed you the first time. So
I've had this mic for years, and everyone has them. They're the Yeti mics.
Yeah,
they're so good, so easy to use.
We should both contact Yeti and be like, "Yo, hey, come sponsor us."
Where's their sponsorship? Exactly.
So, Marc, why don't we get started with your story? You have had a very interesting story because I know that you used to be part of the Simple Pickup. That organization, right? So tell me about that.
Excuse me. Hi. I'm good. Thanks. Hi. I literally told that stranger right there to wheel me here because I thought you were adorable.
I will be your Nido King, and you can be my Nido Queen. Shit. Shit. Stop laughing at me.
Yeah, I used to work for Simple Pickup. It was actually their parent company called Jump Cut. And if you've seen all like the videos on YouTube where it's like, learn how to start a YouTube channel, like all that stuff. So I worked for them. I was the chief of staff there for a little while, and eventually left. They changed. That was about the time, for anyone who's listening that remembers Simple Pickup, they actually ended Simple Pickup far before it was public that they ended. They had stopped doing content. They had basically shut it down and were working on the new stuff, like the teaching YouTube courses and stuff like that. So when I left, Simple Pickup was still technically around. But internally in the company, they had gotten rid of most of their staff. Wow. So like the production team, engineering, they were slimming down basically. Because they were just doing marketing at that point instead of YouTube videos or Simple Pickup stuff.
Mm-hmm. When you got the entrepreneurial spark, was it during your time at Simple Pickup, or was it even before that?
Oh man! So I'll tell you a story. Back was when I was in middle school. They had these initiatives where they were going into schools and getting rid of like junk food from the vending machines. This was back in the 90s. I don't know if you remember that. But yeah, they were getting rid of all the junk food and cookies because they wanted kids to slim down. And I was a big kid. I was obese. Mm-hmm. So, I would sneak my own cookies and stuff to school. And, people would always say like, hey, do you have an extra pack of cookies? And being the fat kid, yeah, of course I do. So I got like a laptop bag, and I had my grandmother bring me to Sam's Club. And I bought like the big, 30 or 40 set cases of chocolate bars. Wow. And I just loaded them into my laptop bag, and I became the vending machine. Wow. So at like lunch and before school, I would open up my bag and people would buy all the candy from me. And then funny enough, that summer I went to Fat Camp. And there's that movie about Fat Camp. I forget what the name of it was. I think it might've just been called Fat Camp. But that was based on the camp that I went to.
What?
Yeah. And when I was there, I met this guy named Tony, and we would jump over the fence at night after everyone was supposed to be in their bunks. And we'd sneak about half a mile down the road to Burger King and buy Whoppers and then sneak them back into the camp and sell them.
Wow.
So, I guess all of this would have kind of aligned me more to be like a drug kingpin now instead of like a blog writer. But yeah, my interest in business came from kind of like my younger years.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, it sounds like you were always the type of guy to find the opportunity, notice the opportunity, and then like take advantage of the opportunity. So that's a good mind you got there.
We're just really big into candy bars and burgers. So
wow,
it's a prerequisite.
Definitely. And thanks for sharing that you used to be kind of bigger. And I think did that help get you into kind of like, oh, I gotta know how to date better kind of thing, or was that kind of separate, independent?
Oh, dude, that was definitely a part of it. It wasn't so much the size, but I just had no self-confidence, and I didn't know what to do because I was like the fat kid. So obviously, I struggled with dating throughout my younger grade school years. And eventually when I left and went to college, things got better. I started dating, but I still didn't know how to, if I saw someone in a grocery store, I couldn't just go up and say hi. So that's where I fell into Simple Pickup and where I eventually started working from them. So that was sort of like the process. But yeah, definitely, man, when you're a fat kid growing up, there's definitely things you miss out on.
I see. And you worked for Simple Pickup, but did you find the skills you learned in Simple Pickup, did it really help? I think a lot of people are curious about that too, because I don't know if Simple Pickup still sells some of their courses, but I know people who bought it and stuff like that.
I don't know if they do either, to be honest with you. I know that they still have people who follow them and kind of remember the golden years.
Yes, the golden years.
To be honest, yeah, I mean, their courses were good, but really what mattered for me or what helped for me was only just their YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Just like the idea where you can go out and just say hi to someone. You have these three guys, this Asian guy, this like short Indian guy, and then Jason who left eventually. But, they would dress up like so ridiculous. They would wear fat suits. They would, whatever problem you think you had, they would emulate in a way. Yeah. And they would go up and talk to people. Yeah. And when you see that they're able to do that with like pizza sauce all over their face, or when they inject their face with numbing stuff or eat a hot habanero, whatever, all the crazy stuff they do, then there's nothing that stops you from just being normal and going up and say hi. So yeah, I think that just the videos, and I don't think the videos are up on YouTube anymore.
Oh, that's so interesting.
I think some of them are, but not all of them.
Wow. And I assume probably some of their stuff had to either get taken down or something, unfortunately, because of, censorship and all that. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of their stuff isn't up anymore.
Well, I will say this, that may be part of it, but what happened with Simple Pickup is Kong now the whole company dissolved and the YouTube channel went to Kong. So now Simple Pickup's YouTube channel is just Kong's YouTube channel. And he put up some of the old videos, but not all of them. And I don't know why or how he decides what videos go up and which don't. Maybe it's censorship. I don't know.
Yeah, it makes sense. I just searched Simple Pickup and I got Kong's channel. So like you said, I guess he's changed it to a better brand. I guess, brands have to pivot, right? And I guess at his phase in life, he has to, be different now. So probably he needs to kind of like take down some of those videos because maybe they don't represent what he does now and stuff like that. So I get it.
Punch for punch, the best way that I've found and that all of the guys who are Zirby members have found to get people to respond on Tinder with your first message is to be authentic, is to be genuine, is to make the line specific and related to her.
Tell me about then how you decided to go with the idea of Zirby. And for viewers who don't know what Zirby does, I can very briefly explain. And then Mark, please add on. Zirby's kind of like your personal, almost like assistant. So for example, if you're messaging a girl or you're texting a girl, or maybe you have to call a girl, you don't know what to do, they literally will give you advice right there. It's like your personal assistant. If I didn't explain right, please let me know.
Okay, so that yes. So that what you're describing is one of the products that we sold, where you would literally get to text in, and we would have people who were certified experts at texting reply to you and tell you what to say. That was one of the products. Zirby right now it's a blog. It's a blog that teaches Tinder advice, but what makes us different is none of the advice that we give is advice that we just kind of like come up with. Everything is tested. So for example, we ran a test recently. Do you know what Tinder Gold is? Well, let me just say anyway, in case you don't know. Tinder Gold is a feature that you pay for. It costs like $30 a month. With Tinder Gold, you're not supposed to get a better chance at matching. You're just supposed to be able to see who likes you. And it gives you some extra benefits, but again, it's not supposed to give you an advantage. It's not supposed to put you in front of more profiles, right? So we wanted to test that. So what we did is we created 2 Tinder accounts, one that has Tinder Gold, one that doesn't. And then we made duplicate profiles. Everything is the exact same. We swiped in the same pattern over the same period, over the same 1,000 swipes. And we found conclusively that you will get 60% more matches by paying for Tinder. Now, of course, that sounds like obvious. Like, well, yes, if you're paying Tinder, of course, they're going to, reward you with more matches. But that's not part of the deal. That's not advertised. It's not in the terms of service. You're not supposed to be throttled on a free account versus a paid account. The paid account isn't supposed to get you more matches. It's just supposed to make it's supposed to let you swipe more. But if you swipe the same, it's not supposed to give you an advantage. So that's sort of like one of the tests we do. We also will get opening lines and send them 1,000 times each to see what has a higher percentage. So that's Zirby, and one of the products we did sell was what you described, but we don't sell that product anymore.
Oh, that's so interesting. So you guys have, just like Simple Pickup, you guys have moved beyond. You guys have expanded.
Right.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And so tell me about launching Zirby. When did it launch, and what were some initial kind of challenges, and what were some of your initial triumphs?
Yeah, that's a great question. When Zirby launched, this was 2016, I think. Zirby wasn't even a dating advice or anything like that. It was a service where you can text in and get an expert to respond over text for a micro transaction. So to give you a real case study, let's say that you wake up in the morning and you look down at your arm and you have this like weird mole, and you're like, oh my God, is this cancer? Do I need to worry about this? You could go to the doctor. You should go to the doctor. But what a lot of people do is they'll post it on Reddit or online, or they'll look for advice. The problem with doing that is the advice online, you don't know if it's from an expert. So with our platform, you could take a picture of it and send it in, and then it will go to someone who is a certified board doctor, physician, and they will respond. So one of the things that we did, our early challenge, was to go out and get doctors, psychologists, different people in different industries to be willing to sign on so that we can send them a message and they can respond to it. And they can basically do that for every different industry. So that's what we did. We had psychologists, we had a physician, we had a nutritionist, and then people would write in with questions. Now, because I came from Simple Pickup, the vast majority of people that would text in were people that knew me from Simple Pickup. So like, I don't remember the exact stats, but 90+% of people were just asking for dating advice. So we ended up pivoting to that. And just over a long period of time, we found that the texting thing and the amount of effort and energy and time that went into responding to the texts was, put it like this, we can make the same amount of revenue just putting out a course without having the one-on-one texting. So that's what it became. And that's what Zirby is now. It's just a blog that happens to have a few courses that we sell.
Wow. That's awesome. And the very funny thing that you're talking about kind of how you found your niche is something I'm sort of going through too, because, I'm reaching out to people to interview, right? So the people I reach out to are people who probably I either used to follow or, followed me back on my other channel. So naturally, it's going to be like, I'm going to interview a lot of martial artists. I'm going to interview a lot of like life coaches, dating people. I'm going to interview a lot of media people. So it's like, ultimately, this channel probably won't become
self-fulfilling.
It'll be something else. So it's like, I see exactly how like Zirby evolved. And you're like, oh, I see where the niche is.
It's very logical. Whatever audience you have or the connections you have, it's going to shape everything you do. Yeah. It's very hard to escape out of it.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if it's a good idea to escape out of it.
Yeah.
It's hard to build up a network.
Yeah. And the other good lesson that you taught me is just, okay, how do you do things easier, right? And that's kind of what I did with all my channels too. I was like, okay, there's harder ways to do things, which is the channel you found me on back in the day. That when we first corresponded, I don't really post on that channel. I will start soon because the YouTube algorithm seems to start promoting more edited stuff. But like the reason I veered away from that channel is because sitting in front of a camera just ranting without even editing was promoted for like a few years. Like YouTube really liked that content. So I was like, that's better ROI.
Yep.
Yeah. So, okay, you guys made a pivot and now you're kind of like a dating relationship advice site with some courses and stuff like that. When you guys made the pivot, was there any resistance, whether internally or externally, from your user base?
Oh man. Yeah, there's one person, I hope he doesn't see this, but I'll protect him a little bit. Yes. So, a number of users, like anything else, you're going to get a number of people who are super users, right? Most people will use it casually.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll text in once a month, maybe even less. But you'll get some people that just text in every single day. Yeah. It's almost like alcoholics, right? Where most people, the companies make their money off of the alcoholics, not the casual drinkers. Yeah. The super users. So unfortunately, with my business model, it actually was a disadvantage to us to have super users, because the more they text in, the lower our revenue, which is not a good model, and part of the reason we went away from it. But the few super users that we did have were really upset that we weren't offering the one-on-one texting service anymore. One of them, his first name is Joseph, and he's a very nice guy, and he follows me on everything I do. I'm very happy to have him as kind of a true fan. But yeah, a lot of people did not want the service to go away, and they felt very lost because it was a very good service. I mean, it was super convenient, and for the price, it was amazing that you could have people who were extremely good at Tinder, where you can send them a screenshot and they'll tell you exactly what to say next, and you can get the date. It's a really good service. So when you get addicted to it and you don't really build up the skill sets yourself, it's very punishing when that service goes away. But ultimately, it's the best, not just for us, but for them too.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I realized as you started to explain this. It's just like part of growth, self-growth, which you are about, your company about, is eventually people need to be autonomous, right? They can't always rely on a secretary and stuff like that. So yes, it's like this is the natural process in someone's growth socially, so to speak.
Totally.
What's the plan next for Zirby, and in general, what's the plan potentially in the future if you have other venues too?
Yeah, so with Zirby, the plan is to transition into selling cheeseburgers to kids in fat camps. Very profitable. So yeah, I mean, with Zirby, joking aside, basically what's happening now is Zirby's a blog. We come out with 1 to 2 new blog posts a week that are very analytical. The new, I don't want to get too carried away, but the new blog post is amazing. So just to give a preview, you have 2 profiles, again, a split test. One is straight. The other is bi. Swiping 500 times on women each, which profile will get you more matches?
Wow.
And it's insane, because the way the Tinder algorithm works is that the more matches you get, the more desirable you are, the more people your profile is put in front of higher in the queue. So if you have men who are swiping right on you, even if you never swipe right on them, even if you are completely straight, you get a massive advantage on Tinder for the women and the quality of the women that Tinder puts you in front of. So we did the test, we did the swiping, and the percentage difference is, put it like this: every single person, every single man who's on Tinder will have their sexual preference set as bisexual until Tinder fixes it, because this hack just changes everything. It changes everything.
Wow.
But, sorry, I got carried away. I'm just so excited by this.
Yeah.
The ultimate goal with Zirby is to release a master blog post in a year or so that has every element of the Tinder algorithm basically mapped out with testing. So that's sort of like the big goal with Zirby. It's being written by people that I hire who do all the split tests. So that's happening. And I'm kind of automating a lot of that so I can focus my time on my new project, which is called Stealwhat Works, which is where I'm taking all of the lessons, all of the nitty gritty, all of the actual techniques that I used to grow Zirby from like 2,000 people a month to over 250,000 visitors a month in just one summer. All of those strategies are now being taught on Stealwhat Works.
So, you can start to see how by providing this value, you can start to really build these incredibly powerful testimonials.
You're kind of going more meta about it. You're like, okay, these skills I have to build Zirby, let's teach people how to build their own whatever, their own version, whatever passion they have, so to speak.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, a lot of the stuff that you learn to grow a blog it's SEO, right? Mm-hmm. It's SEO, but SEO is a really big field. There's tons of different elements to it. But when it comes to just blogging, most of the stuff in SEO you actually don't need. You just need like a set of very specific skill sets. So the idea of Stealwhat Works is, rather than like try to teach everything in the world about SEO, is I really only give the individual actionable skills that you need to make a blog get more than 1 million visitors a year. And, as I was doing Zirby over the past couple of years, I also made a few other blogs to see if I could recreate some of the success that I had. And yes, and I did, and I systematized it. So all of that is in this new project, I guess you'd call it.
Wow, that's super exciting. Is the website live right now?
Yeah. Okay. So it is live.
Mm-hmm.
The website has one blog post on it.
Okay.
It hasn't been officially released, I guess you'd say. But yeah, I mean, you could go to it. It's just stealwhat.works.
Oh, I see it. Stealwhat.works. That's very easy to remember too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I like it because, my philosophy is, just literally copy and paste what I've done.
Yeah.
So all my templates, everything will be on there. Again, right now it's only one post because I'm right in the middle of like building everything out. But, that's sort of the idea.
Yeah, exactly. So if people visit the Zirby website and find the course, they'll see a familiar face on it, which is Jesse. Jesse is on the course. Tell me about that. Are you still in touch with all of those people that people associate with Simple Pickup? Or Okay.
I am, yeah. So so that's pretty funny. Last year, Jesse and I we flew outside of the country, and we spent, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 months together, because he was trying to figure out a way to optimize online dating.
Mm-hmm.
The reason is because he was going out and meeting women in person, like going to cafes and bookstores and supermarkets. And what he said to me is, this is great and it's a great skill to have. But the problem is, as you get older and you have more work and you are running a company like you are, Jerry, and you're doing all of these things, it's not efficient. It's not time efficient. So he was wondering, is there a way to outsource all of your dating? Is there a way to get consistently attractive Instagram-like model women who want to date and meet up with you without you having to put in the 6 hours that it takes to go out and approach, 100 women?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we were testing, and we were doing weird stuff at the time. We were doing like Instagram ads, like tons of ads, and it works, by the way. Yeah. So we would do like weird ads and stuff like that, and girls would watch the Instagram ads and then DM us on Instagram. And ultimately, I left at that point. But we're also playing around with Tinder and how to like optimize Tinder. And when I left, he doubled down on that. So he really went hard into it. So he would do massive tests, like the same tests I'm doing, but really trying to apply the marketing knowledge that he has, because he's so freaking good at marketing, to Tinder, and seeing if he could make funnels and see if he could like really make a system. And he did. He made this thing called Endless Options, which is, now kind of making the rounds. And now on Zirby, we sell 2 courses. One is my course, which is very small. It basically just teaches you how to set up your Tinder profile. And then I sell his course, Endless Options, for an affiliate commission. So I get, a percentage of the sale. And his course covers everything from profile to, setting up your bio, to messaging, to voice chat, to even, I don't know if it covers the Instagram ads. It may. But yeah, it's very like comprehensive, and it's also fairly expensive, but it's a very competent course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. What did you study in school, by the way?
I studied fine art.
Wow, that's so interesting. Did you find that helped kind of you, because your website's really sleek, right? So I feel like probably some of the fine art you took kind of really helps your website design. Like your website seems like a perfect reflection. Both of them, both your websites seem like a perfect reflection of who you are.
Thank you. And that's really kind of you. I wish I could say that had anything to do with me. That's a designer that I work with for almost all my properties. And she is very good at branding and she works very hard to make the sites good. My like background in fine art is it maybe manifests in how I think, but it's not like a direct skill. I mean, I guess maybe the photo of me on Stealwhat works. I took that photo of myself using a tripod. So maybe that's it. But yeah, I don't know.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Not so one-to-one.
And the reason I asked that is because, like, it seems like you and Jesse and stuff like that take such an engineering approach to all this, which is awesome, by the way. I feel like, I have a friend in SpaceX who was thinking, he literally had a similar idea to what it seemed like what you and Jesse did, was like, how do you, like, take his SpaceX engineering kind of knowledge and, like, apply it to dating? He was thinking about that. And it's like, it looks like you guys did it. Did Jesse study something engineering-wise?
I don't know what he went to undergraduate for before he dropped out, but he got really big into marketing at Simple Pickup. Back in the early days, they didn't know what the heck they were doing. They were just trying different stuff and found something that worked. And he, really focused on marketing and learned it. But I think a big part of the kind of content which Jesse and I do, which is more analytical, which is more data driven, is you sort of have to, like, not be an expert, if that makes sense. So, a lot of people in the dating world, they phrase themselves as experts. They say, like, I'm a dating coach expert. I'm an online dating expert. And I even have a blog post called, like, how to get your online dating photos, interviewing 7 experts. And the experts all say on their websites that I link to in the article, like, I'm an expert at this. And that's fine if you're giving advice. But on Zirby, I don't, hopefully I'm not wrong about this, but nowhere in my message or marketing do I say that I'm an expert. Like, I'm a dating coach. I don't say that. And even with Stealwhat Works, like, the idea is, assume you're not an expert. Assume, like, you're terrible. Like, you're level 0. If you think about that, you won't make assumptions, and then you'll actually have to test the lines that you use for online dating, for example. And if you test it and you have results, then you can provide them. And of course, it's not objective because it's not really scientific. You're only, like, testing a small number of things. But making that type of content, you have to not look at yourself in that light. You have to say, like, you're a beginner, you're a student, you're always learning. You're actually below your audience in a way. Your audience is so good, they don't even need to bother with the testing. And you have to spend all this money and time testing because you suck that much. But the end result is you have blog posts and information that's very compelling because it's not coming from, like, oh yeah, just trust me, I'm so good at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I really love that approach you have. And I think that's what makes people keep growing, just as people, but as entrepreneurs too. This sense that I don't know, but I'll find the answer and I'll keep finding the answer. And yeah, it's great. It's great. And I just, even talking to you 2 years later, I can tell, like, you've got different ways of thinking. You've learned a lot more. That's great. That's what makes me want to keep interviewing you, right? It's like, it's different. Like, I remember the first time I brought you on, even, like, we were talking about how, look, part of it is just, like, taking care of so much of the other things in your life. Don't focus too much on trying to approach women. We had a conversation about that. I was like, the fact that you even jumped on that, you're like, yes, that's right. I was like, okay, that's already ahead of a lot of these coaches.
Yeah. Well, it's just a matter of, like, I don't know, where your priorities are at.
Yeah.
It's easy to lose sight of that when you want something, like when you want to meet a girl, you want to do whatever, you want to have a business, you want it to be successful, but you need to stay curious and humble.
Yeah. Exactly.
The content will come out of that.
Yeah.
Or maybe not. I don't know.
One thing I will say is looking at your bio, like your about section on Zirby, that was a very, very compelling bio, man. So like, the art of, like, how you relate to people, right? That's something that I think you're very good at. You can relate to people, and that's part of dating in general. You got to relate to them, right? If there's no way, if you're not relating, that okay, well, there's some trust that's not being built there. So I think that's something I can tell immediately just reading your about section. Okay, if I want to learn how to like quickly hit at the emotions, Mark's my guy, man.
Dude, honestly, here's the thing though. I'm actually really bad at that kind of stuff, to be honest with you. Like I really, really struggle to write stuff that's emotional. And the reason is because I like the numbers and data so much. I'm always like, well, how can I prove this? Where can I get the numbers to support it? But what's cool is that a lot of the marketing stuff is like a template. You know what I mean? Like you can find a message by someone, like if you like my about page, you can literally copy it and then just plug in your own story, but keep the structure the same. And I think that's like really important to keep in mind, is that you don't need to be good or an expert to build a very successful personal brand or blog or business around you or what your passions are.
Yeah. You
just need to be smart and find what works already that's out there and just replicate it, but with your own story, with your own plugin. You know what I mean?
And I think that is such great advice too. Like, don't reinvent the wheel if you don't need to reinvent the wheel, right? And that's what Mark's showing us. It's just like, okay, there's other people who've done it before who've done it correctly. There's just like copy it, but add your own flair. And, if you need, give credit. But most important, like adapt it to you. Like, don't try to figure it out the 100th time when someone's already kind of different experts have figured out different aspects. It's up to you to kind of synthesize it a little bit based on your own personality and understanding.
Yeah. I mean, there's such like, dude, here's what it comes down to is when you have a new business, you want to make it feel like it's yours, right? You want to figure everything out. You want to do everything, but the market doesn't care about you. The market doesn't care about your business. Yeah. And you need to find out what the market actually cares about and put 100% of your focus on that thing. Yeah. You should not be spending any time on anything that isn't directly relevant to the conversion, let's say, to the number of people that follow or buy or do whatever you need to do for your business to be independent and successful. Yeah. Yeah. So, for example, all my blog posts are templates, every single one across every blog I have. I never sit down and start writing from scratch. I just don't do it. There's no reason. I have blog posts as templates that work. I replicate them. That's it. I move on to the tasks that matter. And it's really easy to not do that. It's really easy to be like, oh man, I'm going to figure out this new crazy thing. It's like, no one cares except you. Yeah. No one cares how hard you worked. They only want to see the end result, basically. Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Mark, I'm learning so much from you. I love this thought about kind of like sticking to templates when you don't need to reinvent the wheel. I love it because I'm the type of guy, I think you're the same. I grew up very introverted, and it doesn't mean I'm shy. It just, my social energy is always limited. So I get a lot of energy writing. So I tend to, like, for example, when I write, I like to start from scratch because it's like, that's where my mind really is like, doing stuff, because socially it always drains me. So, but sometimes it's like, I have to remember, like, a lot of times I don't need to spend as much time writing. I don't write as much as before, but sometimes when I write, I could stick to templates too. So those are things, or even like editing. I can build an editing template that I just go back to every time. I don't need to start a sequence from scratch, so to speak. So these are things I'm going to implement just talking to you. With your channel, like for everyone who watches it seems so easy in a way. Like you get on to a call and you talk. Right. But that's like not even 1% of the work. The amount of work that you have to do, Jerry, is insane. Like you reaching out and contacting me, scheduling, the editing process, researching topics, looking at your analytics, deciding where you're going to take your business. All of this is so much work and effort. Yeah. And it's hard because people, again, they don't care, right? They only care about the end product. So yeah, it's just so much to do and worry about. And man, for you to, I know your channel and I look through and I see all the interviews you do. And I just think to myself, geez, Jerry has so much on his plate to do this. It's insane. Yeah. It's insane. All the interviews and all the content and all the things that you have to do behind the scenes. Yeah. It's tough.
And one of my friends gave me this advice, which was really cool. It's like, try to integrate this into kind of some of your other channels. Like, for example, I'm learning from Mark right now. What I learn, I can apply to that first channel you discovered me on back in 2016. I could be like, oh, this is what Mark from Zirby taught me, and then I'm going to do a week of that. So these are things I'm going to try to think about. How do you make things transition into each other a little quicker? Because the fight commentary is just going to be the fight commentary channel. You know, it has its own thing. It has its own groove. You know, that thing will be left alone. But all the other stuff could be more integrated into each other. So those are things I'm thinking about, kind of like pivot wise / like future wise, so to speak.
Totally,
too.
man. Yeah, I mean, once you figure it out in one spot, you can replicate it on everything you do. And then, I mean, there's a reason why Jesse, for example, like with Simple Pickup, that took them years to figure out and to grow and to make into a viable, profitable business.
Yeah.
And Endless Options he made in like, from the time he started filming the actual course and writing the scripts after he had done all the testing, it was like a couple months that he made a highly profitable, massively worldwide online dating Tinder course.
Yeah.
Because he had templates, he knew what he was doing, he had gone down that road. And same with Stealwhat Works, like everything on Zirby that I learned, I'm just replicating and tweaking for Stealwhat Works. And the time it takes just drops.
Yeah, exactly. I think another good question that we can ask you is, how did you find your team? You know, you mentioned you have people writing blogs for you. You have people helping you design your website. How do you find the people to work for you? How do you find the people to work with you and the people to work for you?
Okay, so I actually do have a really helpful hint for this. Where I find them is pretty easy, right? That's just on Angel Co. or Upwork or any number of platforms where you can find freelancers. Now, the problem with freelancers is people send you their resume. If I'm hiring a content writer, or if I'm hiring let's say an operations intern or something, I don't care about your resume. It does nothing for me.
Yeah.
It does literally nothing. If I'm hiring a graphic designer and I see the other graphics they have made, that still does nothing for me, because I don't know whether you can replicate my style or you can do my branding. I can see that you've done others, and that's fine. So what I do is, whenever I'm hiring for a position, I have an assessment. And what the assessment is, for example, I have an assessment for writing for Zirby. And that assessment is like a little Google document, and they have to write 100 words as if they were adding 100 words into one of the blog posts I already have. So they go into my blog post, they write 100 extra words. They will have to match my style. They'll have to put in an actionable tip with a real statistic. Other parts of the assessment are like, well, you get where I'm coming from. So the idea is every person I hire, they go through an assessment, and then I can see, like, can they match the voice? Can they write content that fits? The graphic designer, you know, I'll have them make a graphic, an infographic for one of the blog posts I already have up. And then I can see yes or no really quick if they can replicate or do what I need them to do, like that. And if yes, they're hired. And the success rate that I have with these assessments is just outstanding. It's very rare that I have to get rid of someone. The other thing that's amazing too, I'll just end on this because I can ramble. With an assessment, let's say that you're bringing on, like, I don't know, a marketing intern who's going to help you with marketing. Doesn't have to be an intern, can be anyone. What I'll do is say, okay, here's the landing page of the product that I sell. Look at the landing page and tell me 5 things I'm doing wrong with it that I could improve. Right? And when they fill out their assessment, I'll be able to see, yes, can they think? Are they useful? Is the feedback they're giving me good? But if the feedback is good, now I can actually go and fix my landing page and make it better.
Yeah.
So the best assessments aren't assessments that really test them. They're assessments that actually, to be mean about it, give you free work.
Yeah.
You're not going to steal text. You're not going to steal a graphic. But if they're telling you what sucks about your website and you say, hey, that's true, you can iterate and fix your website.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like getting free marketing feedback or test groups or focus groups. And get to hire really smart people out of it.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. It reminds me, back when I worked at ByteDance, I was interviewing people sometimes, right, to hire. And that was how I interviewed people. I would literally like give them something like, dude, I would tell them honestly, like, I would just like, here's what I'm having trouble with. Can you, like give me some ideas or give me some feedback? And then sort of like, I'd go from there. So
totally. Yeah.
Yeah. It looks like that is probably the way to go, because interviews at the end of the day, if you don't do this kind of what you're given and what I'm describing, I would call it like a functional interview. If you don't give this kind of like functional interview, I feel like most of the hires won't be exactly what you think they are.
Totally. Well, the thing is with interviews, meeting online like this, only culture. That's all you're testing, whether they have the personality to fit in your business. That's it. You can ask questions. You can ask whatever you want about what they've done at previous jobs. None of it matters. All that matters is culture fit. So the assessment is testing their ability to think through problems. Solve the problems that your business actually has. So the good news is when you do this, you will get people who will stay with you for years. I have the same designer. I have the same illustrator. I have the same content writers that I've had for years.
Wow.
We're now doing stuff for Stealwhat Works, which is why if you go to Zirby and Stealwhat Works, you'll notice that there's a certain level of polish that's on both of them, and a stylistic, there's a style too that's congruent, because it's the same people. And even if these people leave, I'll be able to get a replacement with the system. The downside, of course, is that you have to go through more applicants, and it takes longer to find the right people. But that's fine.
One thing I'm learning a lot from you, Marc, is just how important it is. Just when you need to, just outsource it. You can't be good at everything. And, you learn that in dating too. It's just like, okay, I don't know this. Let's have the experts do it. Right. And I think at a certain stage for most entrepreneurs, they have to make that tough decision. Okay, there's part of stuff that I really don't know and I don't have time to learn. Let's just outsource it. Yes, maybe I'll pay some money and stuff like that, but it'll justify the little bit of expenditure.
Totally, man. Yeah, outsourcing is so important. It's so important. It's so important. Can't remember where I heard this quote, but there's an idea that in a business, you will do everything possible to not do the one thing you need to do.
Yeah.
And I find myself feeling like that all the time. Like I'm working on this new blog post, for example, that's for Stealwhat Works. It's 10,000 words long. It has over 100 illustrations. It's insanely deep and complex. And every day I wake up, I have emails to check. I have all these little things to do. And it's like, oh man, I really don't want to work on this giant post. It takes so much energy. I just want to like do easy stuff that gives me dopamine rushes when I finish. Like I check off a to-do or I finish an email and it feels good. So I just want to do that. But none of that matters. Outsource it, spend 5 minutes a day, get it done, do what matters. Do what you don't want to do.
Exactly. That's the key. Like just spend a little time, do what you want to do. So spend a little time every day and do what you don't want to do. And also, if you really can't do it, outsource it.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah, Marc, this was an awesome interview. I learned a lot from you, and I guess this was the goal of this channel. It's like I can learn from people, but also feature them. And, as Joe Rogan moves to Spotify, I hope it gives both of us kind of more opportunity to kind of build stuff like this.
Totally. Man, I love speaking with you. And I know before we went live, we had a great conversation, and it's always a pleasure to meet with you. I think that the most important thing is being a student and learning and not being satisfied with what you know. The reality is, we stand on the shoulder of giants. In fact, I remember in art school when I got my master's, the first art history class that I had in my master's program, they put a painting on the wall. God darn, I can't remember who the painter was, and now I feel terrible. But it was a painting of a man surveying the lands before him, and he was standing on the actual shoulder of a giant. And the thing is, we feel we are so tall and so high, and we're so advanced, and we're so wise, but we're only in that position because we're standing on the shoulders of all the people that came before us, and not just the people, but also all of the corpses, all of the people who have died to, give us the ability to think freely and speak freely. So you need to keep that humility. You need to keep the idea that you really know nothing.
Yeah.
And if you do that, you can actually start making cool content.
Yeah, I agree. Like, even just from my successful channel, Fight Commentary Breakdowns, I took a back seat, well, especially after my neck got hurt, right? I was like, okay, there's still a lot of things I don't know. And so I started kind of taking lessons. I started strengthening my neck and stuff. And, it's funny because as you start kind of getting more humble about it, some of the audience will kind of almost like not enjoy it for the time being. But I think the lesson we all learn at the end is that ultimately you're going to find a better audience that way. You're going to find a better client base that way if you remain humble. And I think that's where Fight Commentary Breakdowns is going. Like, I've been taking boxing lessons. I've been taking Muay Thai lessons and stuff like that. And I've been strengthening my neck like crazy. I'm just keep learning, right? And when I make content again, and maybe I'll appear on screen a little more, it'll just be better. It'll just be better in general. For myself, I'll feel like I know more, but also for the audience, I feel like they'll get more. And maybe some of the audience isn't watching anymore because Jerry isn't like cursing and like, doing all that stuff, but it's okay. It's okay. I don't technically want that audience as much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you change and things change. People move on and some people will connect with you and some won't. So it is what it is. You just got to actually like what you're doing. That's the important part. Man, and I think a YouTube channel where you don't like doing what you're doing. Exactly.
And like when I'm talking to you, Mark, about how your Zirby product, you had to move on from certain things, right? It's the same thing. It's the natural growth in a person. And I think anyone that has a business, anyone that has an online brand has to remember that we're not static, right? Don't get tied up into what you were doing or what was successful. You constantly have to move and learn and pivot because I think about when I interviewed you in 2018, that was a different phase in my life. I was like roasting people, being philosophical and smart. A lot of times I was roasting people. I was interviewing people. I was doing all this stuff. I was like making fun of Chinese dating shows and stuff like that. It was fun, but everyone moves on from phases, right? And so it's like businesses, if it's like a business you really care about, should reflect that in you too. Totally. Like, don't do something you don't want to do anymore. Yeah.
Man, I love talking with you. Mm-hmm. It's great. We should do this again soon. But yeah, it is wild how, you look back just a couple of years and you're like, oh my God, so much has changed. Yeah. Every goal that I had changed. Yeah. It's wild.
Yeah. So Mark, why don't we do this when Stealwhat works, when that's kind of launched more, and I have a feeling you're probably going to launch more than that. Just let me know, and then we'll like bring you back and talk more about that.
Oh, man, yeah, I'd love that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'll be really fun.
Awesome. So for those of you who find this, this will definitely go on Jerry Learns Business. I might put it on other channels too, but this was Marc. It is Falzon, right? That's how you say it?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. Falzon is normally how you say it, but if you have kind of a European twang, then Falzon is probably okay too.
Okay. I actually, this will be a question I end off with. You got an MFA. Are you going to start putting your artwork or like building a brand around your artwork?
Never.
Oh, never?
No, here's the thing. Okay. So I don't want to get too deep into this. I use a separate name for my art.
Oh.
So I show my work and I have that part of my life, but it's very separate. So yeah, they are separate. But yeah, I will never cross the boundaries.
Makes sense. And I'll get your artist stuff afterwards, but I won't show it on camera or anything. So.
Yeah, I mean, the reason is just for anyone who's watching who's really curious, like, why the heck would you do that? My fine artwork is a lot more, it's more serious, it's more heavy. Mm-hmm. So my book was, my photo book was about mass shootings because my immediate family were members of the Tree of Life in Pittsburgh, which was the target of a mass shooting. Mm-hmm. So, I like to keep that pretty separate from my like happy, fun, learn how to blog. Yeah. For pretty obvious reasons.
Makes sense. Wow, dude. And well, the thing is, that's another skill in itself is how to like compartmentalize certain things, right? Like the key is you can't not think about it. You can't not approach things, but you have to compartmentalize, especially the more heavy things. And that's what you're doing.
Yeah. When you have an online brand, you need to keep it focused. You can't be everything. In fact, I'll tell you this, the biggest issue that I see with new bloggers, is that they want to blog about all the things that interest them.
Yeah.
And man, is that a mistake?
Mm-hmm.
Because, not even Google has no idea what your blog is about if you're blogging about 100 things, but your readers don't know what you're about either. So you need to keep your message really, really focused. And if that means that you have 2 separate blogs, that's better than having one blog that's like, for example, one girl who I reviewed her blog, she covered being a dog mom, having a garden, arts and crafts, motivation, daily quotes, feminine issues, and then there's a few other. It was like 7 different categories.
Wow.
Like, there's no way in heck that you're going to be, sorry, it's YouTube, so I try to use heck.
Yeah.
But there's no way you're going to be on top of it. So with your branding, your audience needs to know what you're about. So I'm about blogging. So my art is just not on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I was telling people that in 2017, 2018, but I didn't even completely live that until like even this year under the lockdown. I realized even there were things about me that weren't like branded well. So if you look at my Instagram, now I have different Instagrams for different things, right? Because before I had this one channel, this was like for people who follow me on YouTube, but I'm like, that's not the point. Like, because this would, I wouldn't know what to post on here. So I was like, okay, well then I would have, if I like to travel, I would have to have a travel one. And then I have if I like music, I'd have to have a music one. If I want to learn how to draw, I got to have a drawing one. So it's like, sometimes it's like we understand it in the back of our minds, but we ourselves, even as like content creators, don't live it because, there's like stubbornness, there's laziness, there's whatever.
Right. Well, it's so hard because people are 3-dimensional.
Yeah.
Right. They're so 3-dimensional. And when you look at content creators online, like Simple Pickup, for example, like you only saw 2 dimensions. You only saw like the specific branding, but Jesse in real life is far more complex, obviously, and has far more complex interests. Yeah. But he can't portray all of that in Simple Pickup. So, it's very, very difficult to establish a blog or a brand or a YouTube channel and say, okay, this is what I'm about. It's so hard to do that because you feel like you're sacrificing all of the other aspects that make you you. Yeah. Yeah. And that's okay at first because you can test and you can put out different stuff and see what works and focus on that. But it's tough, but man, it's necessary. Yeah. It's almost like starting out, there's a big kind of like this going on. Yeah. So it's like it's expanding, but it's also going like this. But then eventually you're going to have to go like this. That's the hard part. I think like I'm even struggling with that. Like because there's things that have success, but I want to do more. And then I realized even the specialized stuff that I was doing, that needs to specialize more. And that's the pain part. You already specialize so much. You're like, wow, I have to specialize even more. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. You really have to like have a laser focus. Yeah. And it's really hard. Yeah. Because you feel like you're not doing everything you could be doing, but there's just, I don't know. There's only so many people that are Casey Neistat that can just exactly. Do anything. And for example, even my Jerry Learns Business channel, right? Ultimately, it probably will be like either Jerry interviews Hollywood people, or it's going to be like Jerry interviews dating coaches, or it's going to be something. It's going to have to have that kind of like, because ultimately, even if it's based on talking, like there's only one Joe Rogan, and yes, Joe Rogan is moving to Spotify, but it doesn't mean I'm going to replace him, right? There's going to be someone else potentially with a bigger following that's going to take that place before I do. So totally. Yeah. But even with Joe Rogan, like he has a very narrow focused brand. Yes. Right? I'm a guy who will interview people and keep a open mind and try to get to the bottom of things philosophically. Like it's still a very narrow niche, even though he has a bunch of different experts and people on, let's say. And it's still within a realm of a certain type of audience who is, men of a certain age, of a certain background. So the more that you can focus in on that, and of course you can have different verticals, you know, but yeah, the more you can focus in on one thing, the better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, guys, this was Marc Falzon, and we will bring him back. Great conversation. I love talking to Marc because he's actionable, but he's also philosophical. Those are the best people to talk about, right? One last rant. They're usually the people who do and the people who kind of like think, and it's very rare to get them both. Like the people who think often never do, and they get annoying because they give you all these ideas, and then it's up to you to do it. It's like, can you like at least do one of your ideas? Their excuse is always, no, I'm always just good at helping other people think of stuff. And I'm like, but you don't want to surround yourself with those people too much because then you'll just not do either. But then the doers often just do, right? They're just headlong going into stuff. They don't think about the significance, or they don't think about other things, strategy. So yeah, Marc is a little bit of both, and that's what I love about him.
Well, Jerry, again, I love coming in and talking to you here. So thanks so much. And to everyone who's watching, hi, thank you.